Welcome back to Max Morning, where your well-being is our passion. And when we talk about your well-being being our passion, that means we need to dig in areas which really helps each and every one to grow. Today, we are going to be talking about Central Aid, and I have in the studio gentlemen who I would say are timber and caliber effects. They are in positions with Central Aid, and they have been doing very, very well for ICGC. So we will be discussing a whole lot when it comes to their long arm in charity. Welcome, Mr. Glover. Welcome, Dr. Rockson.
Thank you very much, sir.
How are you doing?
We are doing well, by God's grace.
I'm honored to be seated with you, gentlemen. And as you said, we're having a conversation that most of the youth really want to know what our fathers have been up to, the legacy they want to leave for us as time goes. So having a conversation like this, dealing with your social intervention, really means a lot. So I believe that Obia or Shibia, this very moment, will learn a lot, because what you do and what you guys are on will really, shape this youth to rethink on the way to approach life. Charity is basically more everything. If you give, you get back. So let me start with Dr. Rockson. What's your position with Central Aid?
Okay, so thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
For having us.
All right.
And good morning to your cherished viewers.
All right.
I am the Executive Director of Central Aid.
Okay.
And let me say that Central Aid is the human-oriented or human development agency of the church, International Central Gospel Church, ICGC.
Okay.
Which was founded by Dr. Mensa Otabil in February of 1984.
Yes, that's the 26th February,
Yeah,
right?
26th February 1984. And 4 short years thereafter, on the 29th December 1988, he commissioned what we call the Central Education Trust.
Okay.
It's basically to create a safety net for the teeming youth who desire to have post-basic education.
Okay.
But for one reason or another, couldn't pursue that dream. And so the church was to provide financial assistance to brilliant but needy Ghanaians to pursue and to achieve that dream.
Oh.
And it's been running for years. Then in 1996, it was repackaged and the scope of operations extended to cover other areas beyond the scholarships. So went into community development, like physical developments in communities, underserved, and then into institutional support in the area of education, health, and social welfare.
All right.
So basically, that's it, sir.
All right. Before I bring Mr. Glover in, when I was reading what you guys are about, you said brilliant but needy students. I kept thinking this morning, I was like, why brilliant but needy students? Why not students? But why choose or specifically pull out the word brilliant ones? What about those that aren't brilliant? Will you shed some light on it?
Well, I believe that we must be an equal opportunity society.
Okay.
And so we look broadly at everybody. But we also know that there's limited resources.
All right.
And so you have to find a way of providing some kind of graduated approach to everything. So okay, fine, everybody qualifies, but because of competition, let's look at those who are very brilliant, potentially could achieve much, but could be hindered in their progression if they are not supported. So really, it's open to everybody, but if we have to take 100 students, and there are 1,000 applications, there must be some criteria to get there. But of course, it also means that it comes in batches. So if this year we have 100, next year we add up. Actually, we started with 52 in the 89-90 academic year, and increased and got to 500 every academic year. So from 52 to 500. And over the period, over 6,000 Ghanaians have benefited.
6,000 Ghanaians.
It doesn't matter their religious background, family background, whatever it is. Once you're Ghanaian, you apply, we process you, you have it.
All right. Mr. Glover, welcome to the show one more time.
Thank you very much.
As a board chairman, What would you say that this whole aid has done for you if you look at how far you've come? You know, looking at the work that you put in, what would you say you have achieved that really, you know, makes you happy more than anything?
Well, thank you very much once again for having us. I think that in terms of our achievement, I would say that we have achieved a lot. Central Aid, as you rightly put it, started in 1984. That was just, sorry, the church started in 1984 and the aid program started in 1988.
Wow.
And then the first beneficiaries got it in
like
1989.
4 years after.
Just 4 years.
Yeah.
And so you find that most of the times when people start their organizations, like a church organization, the first preoccupation is for the person to desire to put up a building that will be magnificent, to have equipment and stuff in there to attract people. But while at that time the church had not even established any concrete building for its own gathering place or assembly, the church was looking at building lives. That for me is very significant. So we started investing into lives 4 years into the establishment of the church. We didn't have a meeting place of its own. And so that for me is significant. And what is the first thing that we took up? We took up the issue of giving out scholarships to needy but brilliant students. I mean, as he said, in response to your question, there are so many people, but we have limited resources. So if we identify that you are brilliant, but because of restrictions or limitations on your resources, you are unable to otherwise continue with your education, we come in and help you. Do you understand it? And I think education is one of the most important things that one can give to a person. You know, so by way of achievement, having given scholarships to over 6,000 people who pursued their secondary, technical, vocational, and tertiary education, I would say that we have taken them from what would have otherwise been a failed life into a successful life. So people who otherwise would not have made it in life are now making it, and they are all in high places in society. So I think that the educational scholarships and its resultant benefits to the individual, to the communities, to the organizations, and the nation at large is a big benefit. We have not only done education, we have also done institutional support. So we've supported various institutions, and that I think is a great benefit also. And the institutions range from educational institutions like schools and so on to health institutions. You can talk of Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where we have been engaged in donating blood
for the cancer unit.
We've been donating blood to the blood bank since 1989. That's how many years now? We've been donating blood.
That's like a constant,
that's right,
you know, donation that you do.
We do every year.
Yearly or monthly?
All the numerous branches of the church across the nation and do that. And so maybe that impact can even be replicated by all churches. Can you imagine if all the churches in Ghana or in the world decide to donate blood to the various blood banks? Lives will be saved, life will be restored, and many things. And people who otherwise would have left this world will continue to exist and make great strides.
All right.
And we also do community development programs.
I was going to come
and
to
all
that.
of that. So those are some of the benefits that we have.
Okay, so now let's look at, like, you know, your social interventions, especially like I mean, everywhere you go in Ghana, each area there is International Central Gospel Church planted there. I don't know how many churches do we have, especially let's take the Accra geographic. How many churches are there planted there?
Okay, so across board we have over 800 assemblies of the church
in Accra.
Across board.
Across board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ghana.
So now let's look at your social interventions, especially let's say if you have you are in Spintex. You know, what do you do that is different from other churches in regards to your charity work in these areas? Let's pick one particular area to another area.
Okay, so let me start from our philosophy and our approach to this whole thing about church.
Okay.
Church, we believe, is a ministry to the total man, spirit, soul, body.
All right.
And so we are not only focused on the spiritual life of the person, but the total life. And total life, you're looking at the spiritual life, the physical life, emotional life, intellectual life, psychological life, every aspect of the person's life. We also believe that the church is a development partner to government.
Wow.
So we are not for profit, but we support government in our national development. And if it's so, then it's important that where we operate, we support the development agenda of the area. And so we look at community development. What are the needs in those areas where we are? And in those areas, there are individuals, there are families, there are institutions and organizations there. And so what are the needs in those areas? The individual needs, so the scholarships, sometimes financial support for individuals to help them in whatever they are doing. The community, they may need some good drinking water. We have to provide that. They need some schools. And when I say schools, sometimes the structure itself, the buildings, we have to provide. And sometimes, for instance, during the COVID times, we needed to provide food packages to people, who needed that kind of support. Right. So we look into the community, look at the structure and what the needs are. So the individuals, the families, the communities, the institutions in those communities. And we believe that by responding to their needs, they are really doing ministry, helping them in their lives.
Okay, so Mr. Glover, like as Dr. Rockson has said, how do you engage with the community elders? Because you find out that in one particular community, like 10 churches, that means that community is supposed to be very, 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 very good. Like, if all the churches are helping, cleaning up, as you said, you're dealing with the spiritual life, all aspects of the human being and all of that. But how do you do it? How do you engage with these community leaders, and how effective is the charity that you do in these societies?
Well, thank you. I think that engaging with the community leaders will start from where the church is located. And yes, and we start by doing a needs identification. So we go into a particular community and we find out what are the needs of that community. Like you said, if we found that there's no water here, or the quality, people are drinking water with or sharing the same water source with animals, then we think that there's a need for water provision there. And so, as he said, I mean, if you take Accra alone, we have provided wells, how do you call it? Hand boreholes fitted with hand pumps in over 19 communities. We provided in all 20 of them. That should be significant. So we find that particular community needs water, and we go in and provide it. We find that you need a school, we go in and provide it. We find that there's a particular community that needs a particular thing. Take the Osu Children's Home. We found that in the beginning, they didn't have the proper structures there. We put up a 2-story building there, fully furnished, for the boys' hostel. And at that point, we separated the boys and girls living together. Can you imagine putting boys and girls together at the same location? No. So we did it, and we fitted it with state-of-the-art e-learning facilities. We put up quarters for the staff who were managing these orphans, and they had all the things from washroom to a store and so on and so forth. So we take various communities, identify their needs, and we go in, So
it's like you work with the elders of the communities, and then you know exactly some of
their needs are,
and then
we come in to provide a solution.
And then you provide.
So I wanted to add that we shouldn't forget that the church members are from the communities. And so they already know what their needs are. So by being members of the church and using our structures where our members are grouped in various communities where they live, and they share fellowship. And sometimes we go evangelism, go and preach Christ. And in the interactions, you will get to know some. So there's a structured approach, and there's an unstructured approach where we find the needs of the communities.
I would want to ask this on behalf of people who live in communities, because most will say, we have churches that come in, make a lot of noise, some come from afar and come in and go. We don't see that much. Why do you think it's not visible? It's like we don't see most of the works that these churches do. Let's forget about them. But the Central Aid, you hardly hear of these. What do you think is the problem that makes we who are outside these communities don't hear of these things that you do this much?
Okay, so I'll take it from two perspectives.
Okay.
Each church and its philosophy, if you like.
All right.
Or its vision and mission.
Okay.
And for us in ICGC, our mission is to raise leaders, shape
right.
vision, and influence society through Christ. Because Jesus said we are the light of the world and the salt of the earth.
Okay.
So we must make a difference. We must influence wherever we find ourselves. So that helps us to make sure that we find solutions to challenges wherever we find ourselves. The second part why you don't hear about us is also sometimes the interpretation of Scripture. That when the right hand does something, the left must not know. So
okay.
It's like trumpeting and blowing your horn that, oh, I've done this, I've done that. So sometimes it is that interpretation and application that keeps us back. But I always say that the physical things that we do, the infrastructure, the schools, the boreholes.
I mean, we see a lot that's happening.
Okay,
so on the TV screens here.
This is the Mental Health Authority. The church provided 3 what they call electroconvulsive therapy machines, the miracle machines.
And the beds and...
Yeah, this is those children's home. We provided each and every one of them with beddings, everything complete. This is the blood donation. This is the Osu Children's Home, the boys' dormitory in 207. And here, the Children's Cancer Unit, Kolebu. Every month we give them some financial support. This is the e-learning center at the Osu Children's Home. This is the borehole at Amasamanga West. This is PPEs that were donated to the Mental Health Authority during the COVID times. This is Dr. Otable inaugurating the borehole project. That's our First Lady, Mrs. Joy Otable.
Wow.
Yeah. So
this is a lot of work.
So I was saying these physical ones, people can see.
Yes.
The services, as in supporting, let's say, Kolebu Children's Hospital with financial support every month for children presenting with cancer. We don't have to say it, and people may not see, except the Children's Cancer Unit. The authorities would come and say, oh, ICGC,
I'm glad we're having this conversation because it looks like you are operating under a particular law which says what the quietly and silently go in there and do your job. But I think we having this conversation really means much, and people can see the work that you put in. So what is new with your aid? What is new?
Yeah, what is new is that we want to take our activities a notch higher.
Okay.
We used to have what we call Central AIDS Day.
Okay.
And so on the 25th of August, or the last week of August in every year, we used to have the Central AIDS Day.
Okay.
But this time around, we have the Central AIDS Week. You know, like you were asking, we have been doing this work for 30 years. And this is the first time you've heard of Central Aid on air, doing whatever. We never speak about our activities. And yet the impact that we're making is immeasurable. So we're trying to take our activities a notch higher. And in addition to what we've been doing, we're going to continue to do extra. So this year we're going to have a Central AIDS Week, where we've launched the week already. And then we're now going to have essay competitions, where we're going to ask all the beneficiaries of all our educational scholarship programs to take part and write their stories for us. What was it that caused them to apply for the scholarships?
Okay.
And what impact has that made in their lives? What impact are they making in the life of society? So we can measure what the impact of the scholarship has been. So that is in progress now. Originally, it was intended to be ending today, but we've extended the times for the receipt of these essays. So we entreat everyone who is a beneficiary to put in his or her story. Let's know what was there that caused you to apply for Central Aid, and what has been the benefits of that in your life. And then we're going to also have various criteria for they will have to register and then they will have to, they will go to our website, www.centralaid.centralgospel.com.
Okay.
And then apply through that website. And we expect that it will be in Word, MS Word, and then they will submit. There are various specifications. When they go there, we'll streamline. We'll mention those to them. And then we are going to also have media engagements during the week. The week will actually start from the 23rd of August this year to the 29th. So during that week, we're going to be having various media engagements. I'm sure we'll be privileged to have you again host us if that opportunity comes. But we're also going to have photo and video exhibitions along the line. And on the last Sunday, we'll have a church service at the Christ Temple.
The photo and video exhibition, what does it entail?
So you find that we have done a lot of things that for 30 years we've not spoken about.
Why now?
Well, now maybe because now is the time.
Okay.
Because you find that when you were asking your question, you were asking that why is it that the church is doing so many things and people don't get to know about it? So once you don't know about it, you may be compelled to try and guess or say what is the case when that is not. But when you get to know what the church is doing, then you'll be saying, whatever you say about the church will be based on what you actually know about the church. So if the church in its own actions or in its own way of life does not put out what it's doing, and you, for instance, says that you say that the church is not doing enough, you may be justified because from your point of view, the church is not doing enough. But visible. If we put out this information or what we are based on this media engagement now, people will say, oh, ICGC has done a lot. They've been providing for orphans. They provide for special schools from Takrady through to the Volta region. All this. We have even provided internet, e-learning facilities to the blind in Mampong. The blind, the school of the blind. And you know, when you are blind, you are cut off from the world visibly. You can't see anything. Of course. But then they go on the internet and they are now discovering the world that is supposed to be shut to them. Can you imagine the joy that comes to these blind people? So these are great things that we've done that people do not know about. We want to bring to the notice of the general public because you find that from the beginning till now, it's only the church members who have been donating, funding.
Yeah, I wanted to come to that, about who are your partners and what is a criteria that they, who can become one if one wants to really assist and help. Who are your partners?
In terms of the funding?
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of work that you do.
Yeah.
So who are your founders?
Okay, so we believe that when God commissions you, he also endows you with the resources that you need.
Okay.
And so if you look into the church, we have so much in terms of the human capital.
All right.
And people come with their skills, their abilities, their talents, their experience, their exposure, what have you, but also come with their money.
Right.
So we believe in ICGC that we are self-sufficient.
Okay.
So all the funding is internally generated through various mechanisms in the church. The head office itself, corporate church, gives some subvention.
Okay.
And then each assembly once a year also brings in, during, as he said, the Central Aid Day, something. And then individual members of the church also sign up as partners to give. Those who have benefited from our educational scholarships, even though they may not necessarily be our members, once they benefited, we expect them to also plow something back that we could also use to support other people. So basically, it is us, because that is what we believe in, that we are the light of the world. We should show the way that we can do it, and we believe we can do it.
I'm curious about this. We listen a lot. We've heard men of God say that, listen, if you're not from my church, you can benefit from what we have here or what we have in our hands. How different is yours? Because I see that you have people who are not in the church who benefit. How did you come by that, and how do you make that happen?
Well, as I said, it's part of ministry.
Okay.
When Jesus sent the disciples, he says, go into the world. But start from where you are, Jerusalem, and all of that. The English would say charity begins at home. But it doesn't stop at home. It goes beyond the home. And so as a church, we believe that it's part of the ministry. That, if you look inside alone, then you are not doing ministry. Because I get saved and I stay saved, confined to no. I must tell somebody about this salvation thing. I must tell the person and demonstrate practically the love of Christ. Jesus said that when I was naked, you clothed me. The people around said, when was that? He said, if you did it for the least among my brethren,
you did it for me.
You've done it for me.
All right. We will pause there and go for a break. And then when we return, we'll be discussing more when it comes to Central Aid and things that you're doing in regards to social interventions. Stick and stay. Don't go nowhere. We'll see you right after this.